Polymer clay has held my attention for years. I usually have a short attention span. I've worked with every medium possible, and having majored in art ed and making many things from many supplies and materials, polymer clay has held my attention. It's so fascinating. So I thought I'd stick with it for a while. You were my very first teacher at the Byzantium, no, King Avenue, whatever yeah, it was a wild and crazy, very difficult cane. It was a very difficult cane, and I still have it. Thank you, Cynthia, for introducing me to polymer clay. That got me going, and after that, as an art teacher, I taught classes at the Cultural Arts Center for years. Carol Shelton, I have to drop her name. She started there too and kind of introduced me into the guild, the Polymer Clay Guild, of which I became president for many years. So, having worked for the City Recreation Department for 30 years, I'm so glad to be retired as of 10 years ago. I can play with this clay on my own now, at my leisure and time. And I decided to be in a co-op in a gallery in the Short North called Studios on High, where 18 artists operate a gallery and sell each other's work while we're there. So my work is there year-round, where I sell it directly to people. I enjoy having direct contact with people who see my work, because being an artist is a lonely career. You're bent over your studio, working alone, and preferably alone. I don't like a bunch of people around when I'm trying to focus. But and once I get out, I get to see how it's responded to, how people react. I like to make statement jewelry that makes a statement. I want to turn heads. You may see my jewelry coming towards you if someone's wearing it sometime. I don't want the jewelry to wear the person. I would like the person to wear the jewelry. It's for a special person who's secure in their style. I don't like little tiny things. Like polymer clay, I call it art, wearable art. I like to really make it bold and yeah, bold and beautiful as possible. I was honored to have finally gotten to Africa. In 2010, I took an arts and craft tour to Ghana, where I went with a group of artists from all over the country. And instead of going on a safari, where a lot of people like to go to do in Africa, we went on an art tour to where we went to the wood carving village in Ghana. We got to see the brass bead makers. These are beads I've been using for years, so I got to see and actually make them the way they did, and with cow manure as part of the technique. Who'd have thought it? Cow manure. So, and we did batik dyeing, adinkra stamping, basket weaving, kente cloth weaving. It was an awesome trip. I cried when I got there. I was like a little kid. I'm like, oh, I'm finally in the motherland. I was so excited to be there. Everyone was happy. They received us well. There were no gangs, no graffiti, no pants on the ground below the hip. I mean, I was in shock. It was just a beautiful trip. Just so much there that I finally just had to process when I got back. I couldn't rush into anything, and so now I'm finally coming around to being influenced by even more. I've always had an African influence in my work since day one, before I even went to Ghana. After having gone, I finally said, oh, this is what is in me to do. To bring out of me. Now I know more of the origin of what this is. And I don't want to lock myself into a corner, push myself into a corner of being a one-dimensional artist per se that's always known for something. I'm taking a hiatus from teaching since I retired from the Cultural Arts Center, and I don't have a studio to teach in at this point. And people are asking me to teach. I want to just take this break and write my next book. The first one came out in 2004. And so there's another one or two of them in me waiting to pop out. And I was also honored to have been invited to do a presentation at Synergy for the first time. I've never been to Synergy, so that'll be a good experience. And one of the presentations will be Africa Speaks Through My Art. I traveled to Chicago, Atlanta, different states, and maybe Michigan. There's certain areas of the country I'd love to get into, like the East Coast. I've done a show in LA. I want to bring my art out more to the right venue. Columbus, I've noticed, has a pretty conservative market as far as style. And so the statement pieces I make, the bold pieces, would do better, I think, at a more metropolitan city or more culturally aware city like Atlanta, Chicago, Philly, week. I'd love to see one of my bold pieces walk down a runway, and that's a goal of mine. I'll have to see how to make that happen. Yeah.